I'm a refugee from the former Soviet Union, and I've been living in America for more than 30 years. I was born in a small shtetl, Dunaevci, on the border of Ukraine and Poland. My mother, Ida, was from Poland, and my father, Yakov, from Ukraine. My parents were not well educated, and they did whatever they could in the small shtetl to provide us with food, clothes, and our other needs. When I was 2 years old, my parents looked for a better life. We moved to Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine. Little by little, my family became accustomed to it. At first, we rented, and then my parents were able to buy a one-bedroom apartment. I had a sister, Rosa, and a brother, Norma. We all went to school. After we did our homework, we played in the backyard with other children. We were safe. Each of us was the only Jew in our classrooms. We were nice kids. When we were asked to do something, our parents didn't have to ask twice. My favorite day was Sunday. Often my father gave me 20 cents. It was enough to buy a ticket to the movies and an ice cream. While we were feeling so safe and enjoying our childhood, the Stalin terror was in full swing in Ukraine. It is hard to comprehend that without any charges being brought against an innocent person, they could disappear in the middle of the night. I would say that the Holocaust actually began in Russia when Stalin destroyed his own people. Millions of people were starved, murdered, exiled, and tortured, unthinkable torture. I was 13 years old when the Second World War began. Rosa had just gotten married at 17, and at 18, she became a mother. No one was prepared for June 22, 1941. The propaganda of the USSR said that our Red Army was the strongest in the whole world. Nobody thought about war. Who knew it was so close? My sister was married to a military man, and military families were immediately evacuated. It was summer and school was over, and my family decided that I would go with her to help her with her son, Shuryk. In early July, we were brought to a forest to await evacuation. The Germans had been bombing for weeks, and in a way we had been accustomed to it. But that night, everything was on fire. Every tree in the forest was on fire. People died right where we were hiding. I don't know if we were lucky or God watched out for us. We were alive. The next morning, our mother had gotten word that our evacuation site had been destroyed and no one survived. She came to the forest searching for us. When she found us, my sister cried and begged my mom not to leave us. My father and my brother stayed in Kyiv. My father was mobilized. He was assigned to dig trenches. My brother, who was then 15, decided to stay with our father. This is how a family of 5 became a family of 3. The 3 of us who left survived. It was so hard to be evacuated. The Nazis were so strong, so well armed, and the Red Army retreated from one village to another and another. We came to Voronezh, and when the Nazis closed in, we went to another city. To tell everything we experienced is impossible. We traveled by cattle wagon for a month and a half. We were always hungry and cold. We were unsettled. We had no place to live. We dreamed of rest. Finally, we came to Kazakhstan, where the 4 of us, my mother, my sister, my nephew, and myself, started our life. Because my sister was the wife of a military man, she received money, big money. We had money to buy things, but there was nothing for sale. I cared for my nephew and didn't go to school. We had no food. My nephew became ill, and my sister took him to town. I waited every day for news. A month later, we were told that there had been no medicine to save him. Elderly people, infants, and little children were dying like flies. We were 4, and then we were 3. During World War I, my father had been a prisoner of war in Germany. He had a wonderful experience with the Germans. He made friends. He couldn't imagine that the Deutsche people could be so uncivilized. Many people who had the same experience as my father thought the same thing. We returned to Kyiv after the war. Even though our building had not been destroyed, we weren't able to reclaim our apartment. I don't remember how many places we tried to find refuge. We hadn't known anything about Nazis murdering Jews. When we learned about Babi Yar, we went back to our building to speak to the neighbors. People told us that when the Nazis announced that everyone must report so they could be relocated, my father and brother didn't go. They hid instead. My father was 44 years old and he didn't escape Kiev. He and my brother were killed. Was it in Babi Yar? The neighbors said that they were taken away. That's why I think they were taken to Babi Yar. We went there. I could see the bones of human beings on the earth, on the soil. I saw the shoes of little children, hats, and other belongings. It was unthinkable. When the Nazis came, no one was as happy as the Ukrainians. They wanted to destroy the Jews. They were the best volunteers the Nazis could have asked for. More than 33,000 people were murdered over just 3 days. Every year on September 29th, we gathered for the anniversary of the massacre in 1941. We wanted to honor our loved ones, but it was a crime. I taught at the police academy, so it was important that I wasn't seen there. It was 30 years before the Soviet government put up a monument, and it wasn't even located at Babi Yar. With the help of Israel, a menorah monument was erected closer to the ravine where people were killed. Every place the Nazis were, everywhere they went, there was a Babi Yar.